Day of history and hope.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuhu. Welcome to Open Forum from MTA International USA Studios, a space where ideas bring dialogue and the questions of today shape the answers of tomorrow. In each episode, we go into pressing, fascinating, and sometimes challenging issues of our time and attempt to distill them down, to simplify them, and hopefully spark dialogue in homes around the world. So let's begin. We've been looking at self-driving cars. If you have not seen one in your neighborhood yet, you may see one soon. You may actually see a car without someone in the driver's seat, which for some of us is alarming, and for others of us, it's very exciting because now our commute gets a lot easier. As we think about these self-driving cars coming to neighborhoods around the world, they already exist in places like San Francisco, they're coming to New York, Phoenix, and other cities in the USA, and now they're testing around the world. And as we look at that, we want to today talk about the moral and ethical challenges. So, if you get into an accident, who's responsible? The person sitting in the back seat, the AI, the car manufacturer? Who's to blame if something goes wrong? There are a lot of moral decisions to be made, and I'm glad I'm here today with Imran Hayee, who is a professor of electrical engineering at the University of Minnesota, Duluth. He's got his PhD at University of Southern California and worked at one of the most prestigious places, Bell Labs, as well as in working in wireless communication and signal processing. You have deep expertise in this area, Imran Saab. Thank you for joining us.
Jazakallah for giving me opportunity.
So let's dive into this. This is very complex. But before we go, let us now take a minute to do a deeper dive and break away for a second, and we'll come back.
So, if cars start driving themselves, who's responsible when something goes wrong? That's where things get complicated. Let's say a self-driving car hits another car. Who's at fault? That's where the problem begins. You may have heard of the trolley problem. If a car has to choose between two bad outcomes, what should it choose? So now, we're not just asking, can the car drive? Rather, we are asking, what ethics are we teaching the car? But there are risks. If software can be updated, it can also be hacked. If AI learns from data, then it can also learn bias. Public trust is fragile. One big crash can set everything back. Islam teaches that knowledge must be used with responsibility, especially when human lives are involved. So this is not just about technology, it is about human life. So let's talk about how society decides to deal with this complicated issue.
Jazakallah for that brief and concise explanation. Now, Imran Saab, let's dive into this. What are some of these ethical concerns of self-driving cars? In some ways, it's very scary. We've all seen some of these funny videos where a self-driving car gets pulled over by a police officer. Who does he write the ticket to much more complex issues that are having to be answered by society?
That is correct. That is correct. So right now, there's a lot of confusion around it. There are no federal regulations within US. I think in some of the other countries like Japan and Germany, they have done something. But in US, there's basically federal regulations completely lack. And the reason for lacking federal regulation is that nobody is right now sure what to do. There are various levels of self-driving cars. So right now, what regulations you write for what set of levels? For example, there are self-driving cars without drivers, and there are self-driving cars with drivers in. For example, Tesla's autopilot systems. There are self-driving cars, and drivers can relax, and but they're present. So who to blame? It's very, very complex issue.
But on the one hand, I mean, a lot of it this is avoiding a lot of accidents, a lot of fatalities, a lot of unnecessary things in the world. And just from a data standpoint, it's really a lot safer than a human driving for many cases. And particularly those outside cases, if someone is under the influence or distracted by a phone, this can really prevent a lot of bad things from happening. So in some ways, it's a great thing.
Yeah. I think data does show that, relatively speaking, they are safer. But the main reason is that Tesla says 1 billion miles, Waymo is 100 million miles. Now compare it with
What does that mean?
trillion that they have driven. Their cars, driverless cars, have driven 1 billion mile, billion plus, I think maybe even 9 billion over the last few years.
These are all the drivers around the world who own one of those cars.
That is correct. And Waymo claims truly driverless, 100 million miles have been driven.
And the difference between these two is one has no one in the driver's seat. The 9 billion still has someone as a fail-safe in the driver's seat.
That is correct. So driver is still present in that 9 billion miles experiment, I would say experiment over the last many years by multiple drivers. And Waymo's 100 million miles are actually truly driverless, but that's only limited in San Francisco, Phoenix area.
Sure,
No.
but I would still argue that this is good for society, no?
That is good for society, but now compare it with trillions of miles by human drivers using regular cars. And compared to that, the accident percentage may be lower, higher or lower in self-driving cars. But what happens when you go to trillion miles or comparable miles within the self-driving cars?
So are you arguing that humans are still better? Because this technology is going to get better, like lane assist, where cars stay in the lane. That alone seems like a great technology.
That is true. I'm not saying that if all cars become self-driving, they will be much better than humans.
I see.
But whenever there is an interaction between cars where human is present making decisions versus a vehicle which is making decisions itself, I think that's going to be a problem. It's very, very chaotic. For example, let's look at the moral decisions where there is no win situation. What would you do? So whether you save kids and can kill adults, similarly, if you have elderly versus younger adults, who do you save? So it very much depends upon cultural preferences. So in Japan, they might do something different as compared to what they do in
But what's the ethical
Europe.
issue here, and how do we resolve it? I mean, are you saying that you can program these cars to say pick one versus the other?
So interestingly, there was a survey done, a public survey,
Yeah.
describing this scenario and asking them, what would you prefer? What would you do? And majority of the public said that they would prefer a self-destroying car.
They'd rather kill themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
So let me correct it. They said that they prefer car manufacturers design self-destroying car. And then a second question was asked, what would you prefer to buy? They said they would not prefer to buy a self-destroying cars, rather self-saving cars.
That is a good dilemma.
That's actually a dilemma right now. So nobody knows the answer, and there is no clear-cut answer. It's, if you program to save one kid versus few adults or vice versa, who decides? Nobody knows for sure. And I don't know if this will be ever known.
And are there smart people thinking about this, or should this be a household conversation?
There are actually many smart people thinking about it. It's called model machine. MIT's experiment is called model machine. They sketch out different scenarios and try to see what should be done. And considering the history of human drivers and human accidents, they see what do they do, right? It also depends on human to human. One human can do one thing, the other can do the other thing. So there have to be at least some kind of regulation, federal regulation, which lacks right now. Once that happens, these scenarios can be programmed.
So how does accountability work in all this? If I'm sitting in the back seat of one of these car soon to have no one sitting in the driver's seat, and I'm on my phone and something goes wrong, who's responsible?
The answer is nobody knows yet.
Really?
In reality, nobody knows yet, and insurance companies are working on that. That how do they underwrite insurance policies for such cars? This is important, right? So that whomever is considered responsible, insurance can cover that. So this is very, very tricky, and again, smart people from car manufacturers community, as well as from the research community, as well as from the government side. So all these elements, all these bodies need to sit together and talk to each other to come up with a comprehensive set of guidelines.
And these could be conversations in living rooms around the world, thinking about these exact questions, because there's no simple answer.
And everybody is talking like, you're calling me an expert and I'm talking to you like, we don't know. Nobody knows, really, because this is a conversation level right now. United States Department of Transportation has issued a set of guidelines, but they call it, voluntary guidelines that you have to follow. Some states like Arizona and California, because there are Waymo truly driverless taxis there.
Is the Google's company?
That is Google's company, and they have truly driverless taxis in San Francisco areas. They're trying to expand, but San Francisco, they're pretty much, solid. And similarly in Phoenix area too. So they're trying to expand other areas, but so those states, Google is working with those states to come up with some kind of regulation.
This is fascinating. We're going to pause for a few minutes here. We're going to go back to the streets and hear directly from Americans and how they feel and what are their opinions on this very difficult question.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We're here in the heart of New York City at Times Square today to ask various people about their opinions on these new technologies that are coming out, whether that's self-driving cars or AI in general. Let's find out what people on the street are saying. Do you think these cars are safe? And if there's an accident, who do you think is to blame?
Well, this is a big question, and but in general, you have to admit that it's a lot safer than human drivers. 7 times more safer than human drivers.
Right.
If there is an accident, I think the car company has to be held accountable.
The company.
The company?
The company behind the AI.
I mean, if there's no driver, it would be the person responsible for putting the car out there, I think.
Supplier of the vehicle.
Got it. So there you have it. You've heard from people on the street on their opinions regarding these different things. And you can tell people are either very familiar with it and they have very thoughtful sort of thoughts, or people are very unfamiliar and they're more curious about how exactly it works and what it is. So with all that, we'll go back to the studio with Muhammad Ahmad Chaudhary Saab.
Now we're going to have a special guest join us. Nasir Boakye Sahib is a PhD in computational sciences from the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. He resides in Silicon Valley, and he's joining us as an expert in robotics, as well as many other things related to AI. Nasir Sahib, thank you for joining us.
Jazakallah for inviting me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Help us understand this challenge with safety. On the one hand, it feels all this technology that we are experiencing today is making us safer, whether being a distracted driver that does lane assist to not let the car veer off the road, to adaptive cruise control, to recognizing there's a red light and stopping on its own. It's making the world safer. What are the safety concerns with autonomous and driverless vehicles?
The main concern is the fact that these vehicles are massive and they are moving at a reasonably high velocity, meaning that if an autonomous system makes an incorrect decision, it has very little time to correct it. That is, you cannot engineer safety into the situation on the fly. Safety has been thought about well in advance in the training of the system, in the selection of the training sets, and in making sure that most, if not all, of the most likely situations are accounted for and the systems are trained on those things.
And what progress are we making towards this goal?
The best practice that a lot of these autonomous vehicle corporations are using is to use a slow approach to bring the vehicles to market. That is, first, they do a lot of control testing, and then they do gradual integration into public roads, and then finally do integration into more busy, more complex situations. The limitation that exists is that when you are trained in one environment, you cannot assume that it's going to work equally well in another environment. So if the vehicle is encountering the exact same situations, it is in a perfect shape. The limitation comes when they are unusual, exceptional situations. So another backup that these autonomous systems have is that they have overrides. And as a user of such systems, you have to be aware of those overrides. In case you're in a situation when the system does not know what to do, it will typically ask you for assistance, or it will give you a chance for you to be able to stop it or take control. So at the end of the day, you, the human operator, you, the human user, you are the final line of safety, even though there's a lot of safety engineered into the system way ahead of time.
Jazakallah, that's really helpful to see where this technology is going and how we can keep everyone safe as we adopt this technology in our daily lives. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah.
Welcome back to the studio. Now, I found that opinions and data fascinating. What do you think about that? I mean, we're all struggling with this answer. How does public trust get built in this? And these cars are coming to cities around the world.
So in reality, actually, public trust is mixed.
So are there surveys on this?
Yes. AAA has recently done a public survey, and according to that survey, 2/3 of Americans don't trust self-driving cars, and only 1/3 trust. And as you saw in the video, there were comments that, yeah, we'll try. People are excited about it with the idea, but they can't fully give up the control because they don't trust self-driving cars. Part of the reason is that there have been very high-profile accidents, although few, but there have been very high-profile accidents.
Aren't they just high-profile because this is the new thing? It seems like it's also saved a lot of lives as well.
Nobody can claim right now it has saved lives, right? So that data is hard to collect.
Yeah, it's hard to prove.
What is easy to do is, of course, show, there are so many accidents, right?
Sure.
And that stands out. So this is one of the reasons, but there are some other reasons involved too.
2/3 and 1/3. So most people haven't seen or been inside a self-driving car.
That is correct.
In San Francisco, I was able to ride in one. It was a fascinating experience.
Wonderful.
In a small geographic area. Now, as we experience these, do you think it's going to get better? Because I assume there's going to be more and more of these,
That is
particularly
correct.
for trucking and mass highway travel.
There is no doubt about it that this will evolve, this will get better, it will expand to some other areas. But the question is, will it expand to the whole USA and people will be able to ride in those vehicles without any concern and with full peace of mind? That might be a little too far right now. However, this will continue to expand.
It's still a choice, though. It's not going to be mandated, you don't think, right?
Honestly, if this is mandated, that might be better.
What do you mean? Come on. Isn't that government overreach?
Could be, but ideally, what about the rail system? What about the autopilot in airplane mode? So basically, if all cars are self-driving cars, that is much easier platform. However, it's not possible in near future because many humans have old cars. They're not going to go away until it is mandated in a way, this is my opinion, it is mandated in a way that maybe 10 years from now, 20 years from now, all cars will be self-driving and no human intervention will be allowed. That's a different scenario.
So, but let's go back to this 2/3, 1/3.
Yep.
1/3 of the people trust self-driving cars, 2/3 don't. I would argue that as they get to know them, as the technology gets better, just like the cell phones, as the adoption increases, that will get better. Would you agree?
Partially. Let's see, why do I agree? There is going to be evolution. Algorithms are going to be better and better. Certainly, the trust is going to be built as people become more aware of that and experience that directly. However, there's still going to be issues, right? You still see there are companies who are preventing hacking from your computer, right? Who are preventing spams from your computer, who are preventing viruses from your computer. And similarly, as they build firewalls against those viruses or known spams, those hackers and programmers, evil-minded programmers, they are also working hard. So they are building up on those
so this
issues
building
as well.
trust is going to be
It's
a
gonna
push
be-
and pull.
It's going to be push and pull, and I'm not saying that this will never happen. It will happen, but whether you think in 5 years we see drastic improvement in this, probably not. Honestly, my opinion is that in 5 years not. 20 years, perhaps.
We'll have to have another show in 5 years.
Yes, I think that would be great. I wish I would be proved wrong, but there are real scenarios other than these accidents and human psychology. This is human psychology issue. The security issues, privacy issues. Everybody, this is on people's mind and real minds. And if you really survey them, they'll let you know that there are many people who are doubtful about many things, and this is something which is well beyond their control. And honestly, economy is involved too. Right now, self-driving cars are expensive.
So this autonomous, it's going to take away a lot of jobs as well. I think it already has in some ways. And people have to be wary of this as well. If we have more self-driving cars going to the airport, there'll be less need for taxis and other services. These robo-taxis are coming in. This is going to have an economic impact to humans as well.
I think here I do not think that is truly, that's a totally true statement that it will take away jobs. What it will do is it will shift jobs from
higher level.
To high level or from one aspect to the other aspect. I think people need to upgrade themselves in terms of technology. Of course, a taxi driver who is unable to get other skills might be out of job. That's a possibility in many other cities, many other areas. Uber driver, same thing. But when this technology is improving, a lot of high-tech jobs are being created as well. So the total number of jobs will shift from low-tech to high-tech. They won't really go away in absolute numbers.
Makes sense, makes sense. Thank you for being on the show today. Today we had a great discussion with Imran Saab. We really are going deep into these cars that are coming to your neighborhoods that will be driving with a lot of assistance to truly self-driving without anyone in the driver's seat. There are cities where these cars exist and you can go visit those and see those. Yet it's creating a lot of risk, creating a lot of trust issues. It's questioning who is responsible for these things. And we hope that this sparks conversations in your homes on how we should be dealing with this as a neighborhood, as a city, as a country, as a world, on how we interact with this as these things come forward. Thank you for joining us today. This brings us to the end of today's open forum. Our goal is to spark conversation, to learn something new and go deeper, and we hope we did that today with technology. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.